Cause everybody got vices, 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 vices. Everybody got vices, 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 vices.
And welcome back to episode 2 of V.I.C.E.S, the Vintage Iowa City Exchange show.
Yo, yo, yo.
What's going on, everybody?
What's good?
Everybody good? Pete, you good over there?
Yep, what's up?
All right, so, man, lot of good reception to the first episode.
No, real quick.
Oh.
I want to say today is National Cough Drop Day. So shout out to all the cough drop flavors out there.
Yeah, shout out Ludens, I guess.
yeah, if you got that Supreme Luden pack, bust that open.
Prices. Somebody needs to check StockX. Maybe they went up just for the day.
Right.
All right, well, shout out Cough Drops. So, yeah, first episode went over really well. We're finally up on Apple Podcasts. We're pretty much everywhere that you can listen to podcasts. So on this new one, make sure to check it out. So I just wanted to get into today. Well, first of all, shout out to Full Drop Podcast because we did record a big episode with them last week.
Yeah.
So that's why we kind of took a week off.
Check that out.
So at Full Drop Podcast on Instagram, you'll be able to find the link. We did a full podcast with them that was really cool. A lot of different videos coming out on their channel too. So big shout out to Phoenix and Manny. And speaking of that, we actually took them to Marquee Pizza. They're doing a thing called Full Drop Bites, and they got to experience the pie. And
it was delicious.
Speaking of that, though, we found out that the Vice City Pizza was the #1 best-selling collab pizza in a single month at Marquee.
Yeah.
343 pies.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pizza.
And that also means the charitable donation was, I believe, $500 to $550.
Nice.
So, and they're keeping it on for another month for those of you that didn't know. But we're also trying to get them to keep it on forever. So.
Yeah.
Hashtag keep the Vice
it.
City at Marquee. Let's get that rocking.
Vice City forever.
So, episode 2, we really wanted to branch off of the introductory episode and talk about thrifting and reselling because that's kind of how we all got into it, you know. So I think there's a lot of things that people think they can just walk into a Goodwill or a thrift store and start making a bunch of money, but it's a little bit harder than that, right?
Yeah.
So
You gotta know what you're looking for.
So Pete, how'd you start? What was the origins of you going to?
I would say it started more of just with sneakers, and it was in 2009 to where I was being able to buy 2 pairs of shoes, sell one, and I would get the second one for free.
And that was
so I was just more of I'm buying 2 shoes so I can get my pair to wear for free instead of having to pay for it.
And that era was when every Jordan would sell out.
Yeah.
Even the most bullshit colorways were selling out. It was
well, they weren't doing as many
I guess the
bullshit
bread
colorways back then.
2011 bread, I think it was 2009. Was that the year?
Bread 11s?
No, the bread 4 that came out last
2012.
2012. Okay, so I bought 2 pairs of those, and that was definitely what started. I think.
I started
in the Space Jam release.
I started with sneakers right around the white cement 4 in 2012, and then also the bread 4 as well. Mm-hmm. And I think because I wasn't really hip to it that you could buy it and then go outside and sell it to someone in line if they were late, you know. Right. You'd grab your size.
A lot of the stuff that I bought would go to the coast because people out there they were obviously they knew about it, and shit would sell out there way faster. So that just go on eBay and get it. And
yeah, it's definitely a little bit more accessible. We also have less places to get them though. You had the Kit, you had Finish Line and Shields. If you couldn't get them there,
I was going to Hibbett Sports in Burlington. Those guys had it.
Man.
And so if you started sneakers, I know D, you actually camped out for the Nike Yeezys, right?
Oh yeah, the first ones.
So what year was that?
That was 2008.
Damn, almost 10 years ago.
Where'd
you camp out for those at?
Almost 12 years ago.
It was in St. Louis on the Del Mar Loop. It was a store called I think it's the Vault now, but it was something else.
Huh. How long did you wait?
Yeah, what was
Dude, it was all day. So I had somebody drive me by 10 o'clock in the morning just to check the line out, and there was somebody out there. So I just hopped out the car and waited, and they didn't open until 10 the next day. So I waited for one entire day.
So a full 24 hours.
Full 24 hours.
Damn. And what colorway was it?
It was the black pair.
And it was the Yeezy 1 or
the
2?
Yeezy 1.
Damn,
$300.
Man.
Yeah.
So what was that feeling like? Because I've hit shoes online, but never like stood in line for something like that and succeeded.
That was the first shoe that I had to camp out that long for. I mean, I think I waited like a couple of hours before, but that's when like the craze was real, where people were out there the day before. But I told myself when I saw pictures, I was like, oh, I'm getting these.
Doing whatever by any means necessary.
And I was out there a full day. I was calling my girl like, I need food, a jacket,
bring me a lawn chair,
a charger.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting because to my knowledge, bots weren't really a thing back then, right? Like 10 I mean, I'm sure there were maybe.
I don't even think you could get those online.
No, you definitely.
I think that might have been like some.
So that kind of shows you like how far the game has come in 10 years. Where like now to get released like that, you have to have like a supercomputer with be some kind of hacker.
We talk about the Travis Scott release.
And
what is there to talk about?
Just I don't know how 30 minutes no one's payment would go through, and then they just decided.
I don't know how many times I entered my password.
Yeah.
It might be harder for stores to get releases now too. You know.
True. I mean, and like fuck sneakers. I don't have any of us ever hit anything cool on sneakers.
Nope.
like bread toast.
Royal ones, man.
Oh, dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just I don't know So I mean that's kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but. So Pete, you started with sneakers, but when did you first start going to like Goodwill and like thrifting?
2015. September 2015.
And do you remember like why you just walked into a Goodwill and was like, hey, I'm gonna?
No, I was on Instagram and I saw someone's like stuff pop up on my Explore page, and it was just like, look at these old Nikes that I found at Goodwill. And it was kind of just like, I'm going to go see what they have because it was so close to my house.
So your main thought walking in there was like, I want to find shoes, not really like vintage T-shirts or like anything.
I mean, it was like I was kind of already doing like sports stuff like at that point when I saw that. But I was like, I'm going to look for old shoes and start to, that just kind of drifted into like vintage Nike stuff and vintage Adidas. But yeah, I really only bought sports shit in the beginning. And like I probably passed on a lot of good stuff. And like, if I go back and scroll all the way to the beginning of my Instagram, like it was like it's trash. It's like, what was I doing behind this stuff?
That's what I want to talk about because in high school, so 06 to 09, I would go with friends and we would just buy like bullshit like
stuff that would
be
look funny. Yeah, would look funny.
And now thinking back then, if I could go back now and look for the stuff that I'm looking for nowadays, I'm sure I would have found some crazy shit. But I was really just looking for the goofy like Halloween costume or like I'm gonna show up to school in this weird jacket tomorrow like. Were you doing the same thing, D? Like hitting thrift store? Like when did you start kind of like thrifting?
I mean, I've always been hitting the thrift just to find stuff that fit me because I've had like my arms are longer and my legs are long, so I'm like trying to find long stuff and get it like tapered up.
So just kind of out of necessity to like just find stuff to wear, not really to flip. Yeah,
it was mainly like finding jeans and stuff, and then I started buying stuff from other people and seeing what I like and like, man, I've seen this stuff. I remember seeing so many guest tees. You know what I'm saying? And just like
before that whole wave.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
but it was like after they were like corny. You know what I'm saying? Like so like it was at the time where nobody really wanted them and they were just plentiful.
Yeah, and I think because I started, like I said, I was doing that, so I kind of knew you could go to a thrift store and find some cool stuff, but like not knowing that there's money in it until I found 2 vintage shirts that like meant something to me, and I'm like, oh, I can't fit this one. I'm gonna throw it up on eBay. Sold right away for like $40, and at that time I'm like, holy shit, 2 into 40, like what else can you do? But I think one of the main things I want to talk about was what, and Peter touched on a little bit, like what we were thrifting at first, thinking that it would resell. The mistakes you because
the stuff that you buy and then sell. Like there was one weekend I sold 33 items on eBay. And like they were all like $22 t-shirts to like $40 shirts, and like when you get them for $3, you're trying to make I was trying to make $15 profit on each one. 5 times your money, that's pretty good. But like I found shirts like on Instagram later that I had found that sold a while ago, and probably $50-$60 less of what I should have sold them for. And definitely not knowing what it was worth.
And that's just a lack of knowledge. But there's some kids now that thrift around town, and they're always sending us videos and pictures of like, oh, would you buy this? Would you buy that? And it takes me back to when I started thrifting and like some of the bullshit that I picked up that I never could unload. So like what I wonder like because I mean for me personally like I was picking up anything like Nautica, Tommy Hilfiger, like just the bullshit stuff, and it's just sitting in a tub, and I can't sell. I can't even give the shit away.
Or like the Pro line, like windbreakers that have just like the small team logo right here.
Yeah,
like, I've bought a lot of those.
Any type of like polo, like even a Champion one. If it's a weird pullover like nylon thing, just
tons of those.
And I think that's part of it is like just because you see a certain brand doesn't mean you should thrift it. I think that's a very important. Like just because you see a Tommy Hilfiger tag on the neck. Doesn't mean it's worth picking up.
For sure.
I started to go by like if I would wear it, I would get it, and therefore like and if I could fit it, so it would just everything I thrift would be my size and like something that I like for a while. And
well, that's interesting too because I was straight like I guess I call it eBay thrifting, but I was picking up so many like wrestling shirts for the store, and then no one fucked with them at all for months, and so I traded them all off, and now everybody wants wrestling stuff, and the market is up. So it's kind of hard. Like,
dude, we have some good wrestling tees.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But you'll be so into something and think like, oh, this is gonna bang, and then it doesn't. And you get rid of it for cheap, and then people catch on. So it's like,
that's how it works, man. You
all right, so we got the other intern, Evan, here. He's in the studio. He's going to talk about thrifting because he's definitely had some of these same experiences right now. He's going to chime in right now.
Thrift.es.
Yeah, Thrift.es on Instagram.
Yeah, so basically what Tony was talking about, picking up like a lot of anything that said Tommy, anything that said Nautica, like that was Will's one of the other interns. Will and I used to go thrift like
the plug
around 4 years ago, and we would literally we still have tubs full of stuff in my basement just that has not sold.
I mean,
it's like not really worth anything.
It's stuff you just have to like take the L and donate back. Like there's literally like
I mean, you go to Plato's and like it's like a 12-year-old girl reading you a script like, sorry, but your stuff just isn't cool enough.
Hey, if Plato's won't take it, that's a bad sign.
No. Plato's is tripping. I tried to take a pair of Air Force Ones to Plato's closet. The white pair of Air Force Ones. They said they wouldn't take them because they're over 2 years old. It's in the same shoe for how long?
But there's plenty of shoes that are over two. I don't know.
That's a good
Yeah,
just because
they had Laney 5s that was from 2013.
But it's probably because the box says 07. They think it's from 2007, not, you know what I'm saying? But
I don't know.
Yeah, so, like what other stuff? Nautica had a huge wave when like Yachty popped off, and then that shit died quicker than like I could even believe. Like no one.
And Tommy Hilfiger too.
Like cool Tommy pieces will still go, but like if
there's only like there's select Tommy pieces, but like
I mean the Big Flag stuff, like the Big Flag T-shirts.
Yeah,
like
that'll always
2 years ago, like those would be $100. I feel like all day, and now they're more of like
Tommy
40
Tuesday,
40 to 50.
Yeah,
and it's like
cracking off no more.
Yo, Tommy Tuesday was really strong in the Instagram streets. Like that was a thing. Like people
remember Tommy Tuesday?
I do, but now that you like say that, I kind of realize that it's
I
don't
dead.
see it anymore.
No one's on that wave anymore.
That's crazy.
Like even when we opened the store, like a couple like the knapsack with the big Tommy flag. We had a little pink backpack that sold, like a duffel bag. Like people were excited about it, and like fast forward a year, and it's kind of like, we're off that.
It's not Off-White. I don't want
it. The hype stuff rules, but keeping it to the vintage, I'm just trying to think of other things that I was thrifting that just like sat around, like jerseys. So you got to know,
jerseys.
no, but you have to know, like, if you ever see a jersey with the NFL apparel tag, just leave that shit behind.
Yeah, leave it behind.
Like,
or the windbreakers that say NFL apparel, don't get those.
Like,
I think the
USA windbreakers for the Olympics, don't get those.
Any old
we sold a couple. It depends on the color and the blocking.
The colorway if it's got good.
I remember having a bunch of the Nike track jackets and them not doing so well for me, and looking back like, damn, I just gave them away.
Like gray tag joints.
Yeah, I remember at an event in particular, I gave away. I think I sold this dude 15 of them, all gray tags, all fire, for like $2.15.
And now
and I remember him being like, you know what, man, let me think about it, walking away, and then coming back at the end of the event and being like, you know what, I'll take them. But they were all like super raw now that I look back.
And like at the store, we move those like 30 to 60 pretty consistently too. So it's like,
and people are looking for them all the time.
Yeah. But again, that just goes to show like kind of the circle that it goes in. Like you might know stuff is cool and you have it, and then you like sell it for cheap and then give it a year, and it's like what everybody wants.
Because wherever he was at, he was killing them. Because literally afterwards we went out to eat, right? And I was talking to him like, yo, so what moves for you the best? And he's like, Nike track jackets, and I was like, dude, God damn.
Appreciate that deal you gave me.
Oh man.
It killed me, but I guess I learned my lesson. But yeah, wherever he was at, somewhere down south, he was killing them.
Yeah.
30 to 60.
All right, Number one thing not to buy at the thrift. What is it?
Man.
I know what
those USA flag shirts.
No, but no one's buying those anyway.
It's band tees that are old bands that have printed tags.
No, well that's what I wanted to touch on. So
yeah, cool graphics and printed tags, man.
But this goes into the next part of it is, if you see a T-shirt and it has like Bravado, that's the main one for like band tees, like printed on the neck, it's not vintage, you know? Like that's a reprint. There's always gonna be a date somewhere on there. Like just because you see like a Metallica shirt doesn't mean it's a $200 shirt. So don't just be grabbing all that stuff. Like there's
a lot of Dark Side of the Moon shirts. Yeah. Not all of them are from the 70s.
And like exactly. So that's the thing is like if you have any type of knowledge, you would know that like it's gonna have a tag. It might be single like stitch for the most part if it's old.
Explain single stitch and double stitch. People may not know what that means.
A little hard to do it over the mic, I think. But if you look at your shirt on the sleeve and there's just one line of stitching going around, that is single stitch, and that would be what 94, 95 would be like the latest. They kind of. For the most part,
for the most. I mean,
it's gonna be
like 96.
It's gonna be pre mid 90s for the most part though, and that's a great indicator. Okay, the shirt is actually old because they're not still doing that. Well,
some.
So Hollister and like those these little like those brands, Abercrombie, even like Banana Republic,
Urban Outfitters,
they do single stitch. Which
there was
is
a Snoop Dogg one that had a printed tag, and it's like modern single stitch.
Yeah,
and then after a couple washes, that tag is gonna wash away, and someone's gonna find that and be like, oh, look what I found.
So and then the double stitch is like what you'll look down and see on like a newer shirt. You'll see the two lines of stitching, and like I said, kind of hard to describe, but those are the things you have to kind of put in the work and like the like all day we're on eBay and all these shopping apps like looking to buy like cool vintage stuff. Like you kind of have to know what tags to look for, if it's single stitch or double stitch. Like there's a lot of stuff that goes into picking the right stuff to flip. You can't just like walk into a store and like I don't know. People just think it's easier. Like how do you know what to get? And it's
easy.
It'll be a lot of stuff that we think is like really cool. Like we question like why stuff doesn't sell all the time, but people are just into what they're into, you know. And you just gotta be knowledgeable about the waves.
But it's like that meme with the butterfly, and it's like it's like a new thrifter, and then it's like, oh, is this vintage? And it's like a picture of like a brand new shirt, and it's like. Like we all started somewhere, but you got to put in the work to understand what's.
I hate being that like the thrifting person that's like, you know, talking shit to the new thrifter.
No, because
you know what I'm saying? Because like
we've all been there. We all thrifted bullshit at the beginning.
Totally,
it's just how much do you want to put in the work to realize what's actually worth copping and what's not? Because
I mean, if you're really serious about it, I'll answer any questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
like send us DMs, invite. Like if you're at a thrift store and you're like have a question about something, like you can send us a picture and we'll be like, no, that wouldn't be worth grabbing, or yes, we'd be interested. And also, we'll like try and help you out and be like, oh, anything on a printed neck tag you'd want to leave behind for the most part,
right?
And like kind of guide people because we want people. We're not out in the streets as much thrifting, so we want people in the area finding the good stuff and bringing it to us.
And if you've been coming to us since we opened, like you probably even noticed the different stuff that we take and don't take.
True.
You know,
I mean that's all part of
just a part of, you know, learning about our customers more, I guess.
So, I guess another thing that kind of goes along with it is like etiquette in the thrift store. Because I know we've all been there and like walked in and you see somebody like. This fucker's looking for the same stuff that I am.
If you go with your homie or something, like you guys have to split up. Like don't follow this person around. Yeah. And don't don't race me down the rack.
But also, you alternate stores where each person gets to look through the black T-shirts. Because if I'm going with you and you're looking through the black shirts, like jumping ahead of me every time, like we're not going together ever again. Like it's got to be a set rule of like, okay, I got the black T-shirts on this one because. Majority of the time, if you're looking for vintage, you're gonna find the good shit in the black T-shirts.
Yeah, but if you notice somebody like just constantly like skipping you on the black shirt, you gotta say something. Though. You can't just let it happen.
Yeah,
man.
And I've been in the thrift, and I've seen Pete try and cart jack old people.
Oh, Pete.
Do you remember? I remember one time we're in Cedar Rapids.
That's where I got that Monsters mat from.
we're in Cedar Rapids, and this elderly man has some jeans in his cart, and I see Pete just eyeing the shit out of him, and he's like, I think it was like an orange tab or something.
Yeah,
and
he didn't end up grabbing him. We got him, didn't we?
Yeah, I think he kind of like meandered around long enough where he like like sparked up conversation with the guy. I was like,
Yeah,
hey, you think you're gonna grab those?
You gonna buy these or what? And he's like, let me go try them on. I don't think they
some
fit
National
him.
Geographic.
It was very it was very like a lion stalking prey or something.
He was like definitely on the fence between them because he had a couple pairs and like, oh, we'll see if they fit. If they don't fit, let me know. I'll take them.
Oh, because he did go try them on.
Yeah,
He came out. I was like, oh no, these are all yours.
Did you wait outside the fitting room?
I just stood in the jeans section. I didn't have to be that close to him.
And so another thing, is if you have a cart,
don't push it down the aisle.
And like come and try and bully me because I don't have a cart. Like if I'm coming down the row and I'm looking at every single T-shirt, don't wheel your cart in front of me.
So I can't look any further than your cart.
Yeah, or like you're just gonna jump in and start looking at the shirts
between the cart and the shirts.
For some reason, that just seems like the thrifting ladies.
Women.
I don't know why that happens to me more often. I guess they have carts more often.
Pro tip: just don't use a cart. Just carry your shit.
No, I mean, but sometimes it might be straight busting.
And sometimes you get the like 4 or 5 hangers under your armpit. Or do you guys do that?
Oh,
that's how I carry my stuff.
Take the hangers off and throw the shirts over your shoulder.
Oh, true. I guess.
I put the hangers on my finger, usually.
Oh, yeah.
But if it gets past like 4 or 5, it's like can't do it. Can't be doing that.
It's just there's definitely rules to it. Like you can't just come in there and like think you own the place. If like, especially if someone's coming down a row looking at every single piece, don't jump in front of them to like look ahead of what they haven't looked at yet. Like it's just like don't be that guy.
When I walk in, I don't want to grab a cart because then I feel like I'm gonna need, I'm getting a lot of stuff because it's gonna be good. So I'm kind of jinxing myself, and it's like I just don't do that. I just walk past the carts. If I have a lot of stuff, then I go get a cart.
Yeah. And also, we don't walk into a thrift store and leave with fire every time. It's probably more times than not you leave with nothing or like one. Yeah. And I guess that's another
You know what? Yeah, being okay with leaving with nothing. That was hard to do at first.
I was gonna say that's another good tip. Don't like if you find like one thing that's very mediocre and you're walking around with it, just because you don't find anything else doesn't mean you should grab that. Yeah. You should maybe second guess yourself then and be like, okay, like am I just grabbing this because I didn't find anything else?
Because like, all right, jump
over to the antiques and see what they got.
If you like research the previous sales online, like see how frequently it's selling as well. You know what I mean? Just because it sold for $800 a year ago doesn't mean that it like if you post it now.
And also
it might take a year to sell.
Right.
This should be like pretty common sense, but also look at the sold listings. Don't just look at what current listings are because people will always ask a shit ton for stuff that doesn't sell for that price. Yeah. If you filter by sold, you're gonna see okay, maybe the shirt really only sold for 40, but people are asking 100.
Yeah, you're looking for actual factual data out there.
Because people come in the store with stuff and they'll show us like what people are asking for a certain item, and then we'll go check the sold listings. Like, well, really, it's going for about half that, or like it's really going for half of that, and it's like I can't give you 100 if the last confirmed sale was 50.
Dude,
like,
that happens all the time. Where like you'll see something listed like at $150 consistently, but you'll see them selling consistently for like
70, 80,
you know what I'm saying?
Even half of that. Yeah. So, yeah, that's one thing is definitely do your research while you're there too. Don't be afraid to get on eBay or like Grailed and like see like if some of the stuff is sold. And also, I wanted to talk to Pete about this. Is like search the whole store. Like if you're just in there looking for shirts, you're probably missing out on the most profit because I think one thing that's crazy is like the JanSport backpacks.
Oh yeah, man, I move those things like crazy.
But like what? Like I wouldn't even ever think to grab one.
Yeah.
And like
Pete, I was just letting you know, there's a $2 JanSport made in USA at the Crowd Closet if you want to go get it.
Oh, awesome.
I passed stuff on.
Look at this man dropping thrift gems.
It won't be there when this airs.
But I mean, that's just going to say that like there's toys, there's video games, there's like antiques, there's bags.
You found that wooden duck.
Oh yeah, I randomly saw this on Instagram. A lady posted an article about an antique wooden duck that sold for like $600,000, and it was a like duck decoy made by some Japanese artist. And I went over to the antiques at stuff and saw one. Sure enough, it was 1993, I think, and had the like the artist's date or the artist stamp on the bottom. I think it was $50 and sold it for like $200 or $150 in a couple weeks.
And I mean that's some shit. Like if you're not really putting in the research and like the time to like realize like you're leaving the best stuff behind, because I would never even think to look.
Just go through the whole store, look through it, and like if it catches your eye, look at like just you can take a picture of stuff now and like look it up by the picture.
Look for old video game consoles too. I used to do that in Goodwill. Now they've become to like savvy to it. Well, they're starting like pricing them higher, but I used to get like Game Boys for like $5 at the Goodwill, and those things would sell.
Now
Some of those Game Boys sell
accents.
for $100, like the Micro or the SPs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, kind of going off of that, I wanted to go around and like, off top, like, what is your best find ever in a thrift store? Like, it could be like just the coolest thing or like the thing that you flipped and sold for the most. So, I guess I'll give you guys some time. Mine was it was a Tommy Hilfiger Big Flag reversible jacket, and it was $15.88. Ended up selling it for $300. So that was probably the biggest piece of clothing. And then also, I guess another one, I didn't really find it because shout out to Space. He was working at Goodwill, and I had never even met the dude. I think it might have been my first or second time. And he was at the counter, and I was ringing up, and he's like, hey, there's 2 pair of Rick Owens I hid on the shoes. Like, you can go grab them if you want. So I go back there, and there's 2 pair of Rick Owen Adidas sneakers, $9 for the 2 pairs total. Sold them for $450 combined. So, I mean, shout out Space. Sometimes it just pays to know or be cool with the employees there. They'll like point out some shit. So, so I think those are my 2 biggest by far. Like, Pete, you remember off top anything?
I gotta think about it for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Evan had an absolute banger.
I have 3 pretty good ones that stick out to me. First one is the Buddy Holly mosquito head from the late 80s.
That was busted.
Should have sat on that one.
Well, what'd you get it for?
Bought it for $2.
$2. What'd you sell it for?
$4.25.
And how long did it take to sell that?
Like 2 hours.
Yeah, that's the shit that we live for. Like,
drug dealers don't make that kind of profit.
No, the return on that investment, especially in the time, is that's insane. Like,
and I was super dumb and like, I was like, oh, I can get this money like right now. Like, if I sat on it and like,
it's probably
looked at my offers, and it's probably like a $800 shirt.
I mean, that's probably the top, like $500 to $800.
Yeah.
Like, if you would have put it on eBay and like let it sit for a little bit, but is it better to get that $425 right away or sit on eBay for 6 months to maybe get like $500 after fees?
What did you say? A fast nickel?
Yeah,
better
fast
than a
nickel is
slow
better
dime?
than a slow dime.
And Pete has always said that, but sometimes it's hard to practice what you preach when you're in the moment.
I'm bad about practicing that.
But in theory, it sounds good. Maybe
yeah, it does.
I mean, $425 in your face, you're just like, man,
in 2 hours.
Yeah, I felt so rich. And I sold the starter jacket like a day later for like $115. I was like,
oh, you were rolling.
Damn.
I was rolling.
Roll.
That money didn't last very long.
Well, didn't you find the?
Yeah, well, I have 2 other T-shirts that stick out to me. Second one being a Mortal Kombat T-shirt, single stitch.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Gave that one to
Yeah, I got
D,
it
I
from
think.
you.
Yeah. I got that one at
But that was
for
at
$5. I got
at
$100.
Stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
Me and Pete worked out a trade. It's actually for sale in the shop.
Yeah,
it is
I-
a store,
yeah,
but it's
interesting,
a
yeah.
super cool like
Yeah.
tie dye
Yeah.
like
Mortal
all the
Kombat 2 actually, so it's like
pretty
what
hard.
late
90s.
mid 90s,
Yeah.
late
I don't know
90s,
what mine is.
mid 90s, and then I have another. Well, I guess
Yeah, this is.
Noah can talk about this one.
Well, we both saw it, but I was the one who actually picked it up. I think we both kind of thought it was fake, but it's a off-white brushed diagonals long sleeve.
Oh yeah.
And it was real. Like everything checked out on. We looked at all the tags all matched up, but I just couldn't believe it because it was at the bins. It wasn't even at a Goodwill. So I actually didn't see the stripes when it was in the bin. All I saw was the off-white tag, and I was like, okay, that can't be real. So we pick it up and we lay it down. And it's obviously not like a blank. It was a real off-white shirt. Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, the Goodwill bins or Goodwill outlet is by the pound, and there's one in Des Moines to be the closest. You go in and it's a big row of like these blue tubs where they just roll stuff out, and people just go kind of crazy, especially like when the new bins come out. It's just kind of like a free for all.
That's wild.
But I mean, I think over there it's like $1.29 a pound. So the off-white shirt probably ended up being 50 cents to $1.
Best part about that was too is that bin had been sitting there for over a day. So those guys in Des Moines, I don't know if they were there the day before or like what happened there, but somebody obviously looked through it and didn't pick it up.
Yeah, they
I-
didn't see it.
Sometimes though with that type of stuff, it is hard to, especially if you don't know like
Well,
hype stuff, because you can find a box logo and like think it's real, but if you don't know about the brands, like it might not be worth like picking
The
up.
thing
either.
about that off-white shirt though is that it was so clearly not a blank because those off-white, they have that thick neckline with the
Yeah.
and they're all like got the single
Right.
stitches on the sleeve.
but people that aren't in the know might not know.
Yeah,
that.
that's
They're
true.
like, oh, it's another like fake knockoff or something. But
Right.
yeah, that's a crazy find.
I think for me, I found a pair of 2001 Bred Ones for like $30 one time.
Damn.
And it was a youth size, but they're numbered, and it was like the number one. It was number one out of like whatever, like I forgot if it's like 40,000 or 80,000, something like that.
Was it like a pack or something, or why was it numbered?
They just
they did. They numbered it was like 43. It was however many points Jordan scored, and then the Royals were out of 50,000.
Like
and number one was just sitting in a thrift somewhere.
Oh, and I found some Lance Mounds at the outlet.
So did I.
That was super.
We all did.
We all did. Yeah.
Well, I want to. We're gonna do a Nike outlet episode, or like so I don't want to get into all the dynamics.
Yeah, back when they were cool and used to help us out with shit.
But the Lance Mountain.
Just kidding.
At the outlet.
So cool.
And that's like 4 years after the drop. So like.
Just because like if you know, like I always I love SBs, so like that was one of my, and I love Jordan 1s, so that was one of my favorite sneakers. So
yeah, that definitely was. That was a crazy find.
Yeah.
Pete, did you come up with anything yet?
Yeah, probably not the craziest one, but it was just like definitely the cheapest one. I got a 1980 John Lennon like memorial T-shirt that was I think 90 cents, and I sold that for $125. So that was pretty solid.
And how much was it? You said
90 cents.
See, I mean the profit margins can be just through the roof sometimes. I think Evan's got another one.
Yeah, I got one more. Vintage Apple T-shirt, like the big spell out with different colors. I know Pete's got that one.
Yep.
You better have that one.
I do. I still have it.
I give you steel. I don't know.
He found it for $2, and then
$2.
And he showed it to us in the DMs, and Pete's like, "I'll give you $100 cash," and it was the same day. He just drove down.
Yeah, again,
I needed that one.
I took the quick money.
But still, $100 for that. I mean, you might be able to list it for $150 and sell for a few more bucks, but $100 is still.
That's fine.
That's what I. There's a lot of fakes of those Apple shirts floating around now. People are making.
Oh, like the embroidered ones.
Yeah.
But also screen printed too.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen a bunch on like jerseys tags and like.
Yo, please stop making fake vintage if you're doing it.
Well, yeah, don't do that. Just because it just waters down the market. Then all of a sudden there's a million of these tees, and it's harder to tell what's the real stuff and what's just like some nonsense that people are printing. Because people have the means now to thrift a blank, print what would have been on that blank back in the day, but it's not. It's I don't know. It's a pump fake.
Yeah.
I think.
And then like all the Urban Outfitters and everybody's remaking.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's cool if you want to wear that type of stuff, but man, it really just it's got. I want to call it disrespectful. Like it's like
you know what like shocked me is what someday when I was in the store somebody brought in one of those Tommy Hilfiger like the new jackets that's supposed to look like a retro, and like Peter, I think you were there. The price tag on it was like $350. It was just like a Tommy.
It was like a big flag.
It was just like a win, but a new one, like a big. He's like, I paid $350 for it. That's crazy.
Yeah, Jordan just redid a whole like vintage, like with the
jackets. Yeah, it looked like kind of tribal
lines,
print, like, and those are actually cool. Like
I know, right? And I was just like, man, but if you could find one of those.
Well, because brands are starting to go back now, like they're realizing how popular vintage is, and like, okay, maybe we need to like get back to how we did do it, or like bring like what was Sean and
that could ruin
Russell?
vintage?
Was it Russell? I feel like every brand's like going back to their like heritage or whatever.
Well, yeah, or like didn't Sean something with Guess? Now they're going through the archives and like reselling old pieces from their archives, or like.
But it's actual old pieces though.
Yeah,
right?
they're used pieces and they're like bought secondhand from either like thrifters or like Goodwills.
Yeah,
or wherever.
Yeah, so like these companies
all
are
over the
buying
place.
back their vintage stuff to resell it now because people don't want the
If
new
it's
stuff.
actual
V.I.S.E.S did
vintage,
that
that's
last year too or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But if you're remaking your old stuff and you know what I mean, and it's like new retro, that's like not cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah.
I mean, people that aren't even in like vintage lanes and like have that are doing that. Like Supreme's doing that shit. Like they brought back 4 or 5 logos that they used from like 94, 95, 96 this last season on just different stuff.
But I think.
So it's just people wanting like the demand of like man, you remember all of this like stuff that was so cool. Like they're just gonna hear that and think, let's do a reissue or something.
Yeah, I have the biggest problem with like the fast fashion, like H&M, Urban Outfitters.
Oh, you're just talking about like a straight reprint.
Yeah, but I'm saying like, rap style tees are cool. We're gonna print all these bullshit tees that have everything that's sacred in like the vintage landscape.
Yeah.
Like we're just gonna shit.
Here's
all
a
over
Nav rap tee.
Yeah, no.
Like from a distance, I see somebody,
not
my
even-
mouth drops.
yeah.
I'm like, holy shit, he has this shirt, and I'm like, man, what the?
But not even that. I'm not mad at like the Lil Tracy like tour merch that's a rap style tee. I'm mad at the people that are like the Urban Outfitters, the Tupac and the Snoop Dogg and all like the really gray old vintage pieces, and they're just pumping out like bullshit
Toxic
like,
waste.
It's the quality's not good. It's like soft, thin little T-shirts and like I don't know. It's just that's the thing that gets me. And also like buying that fast fashion stuff just isn't good for the economy, the environment, like all that type of stuff.
Yeah,
like,
buy vintage. Vintage is good shit.
Yeah. We got reached out to by the University Iowa Office of Sustainability, and they want to do an episode talking about how good like recycling clothing and like the vintage thing is. So shout out to the Earth, man. Like we're trying to we're trying to keep this thing going. You know what I'm saying? So fuck H&M.
Young sustainers.
Shout out to the Earth. So I guess one last thing on the vintage reselling. I just wanted to touch on like how you find a fire T-shirt at the thrift, right? And you go to put it on Depop or Etsy or eBay. How should you list it? I'm talking about, should you include measurements? Should you take like nice pictures, or should it be blurry and like cat hair all over it?
Unless you want a million questions, you should.
That was the most like popular question asked in like the first 3 or 4 months when I started doing eBay stuff. Was like, if you don't like, what are the measurements? Like, can I get the measurements pit to pit, top to bottom? And like, just lay it out, lay a yardstick across it, and take a picture of it, and it's in the pictures.
Because the people that are really gonna pay up and buy good vintage, they know what measurements they like. Yeah. So if
100%.
They want to know what the length is and what the pit to pit is. So if you don't have that in the listing and it's just hung up or like kind of all crumpled up in the corner, like you're gonna get a ton of questions, and you're also gonna piss everybody off. Like
so lay your shirt down and you measure from the top of the collar down to the bottom of the shirt. And then you want to measure it from side to side, pit to pit. Yep. Right? And then you want to put that in the listing.
And also, I think you got something to say, Evan? Oh, no. Okay. No. So, and also, like, iPhone camera, like, any cell phone camera is good as fuck right now, right? Like, you should not be posting these blurry ass, like, hard to decipher pictures. Yeah. Like I'm so and then people will ask a crazy amount of money for a shirt, and you can hardly tell what it is or like the details on it.
Honestly though, sometimes that's when like deals come out, is when people take bad pictures of stuff. I remember that Peter, you have that shirt, I gave it to you, is that a Love Supreme shirt from the early like 2000s. It's a Supreme shirt. I got that for like $35 because the guy had terrible pictures of it. But I knew what the shirt was, so I was just, I'll just buy this.
So that's awesome. So it can work both ways, but if you're really trying to like, if you're trying to make a living out here and like really do this like reselling thing, like take pride in your listings.
Yeah, and need also a camera that was like made in the last 5 years.
Like some of these people are taking pictures of like disposable cameras. Like I'm sure, like it's wild how you're out here. Like,
or a toaster.
It's something, dude. It's crazy.
Always have like the same background too, like that. Always like uniformity. Or just,
try and keep it the same. Like especially if you're on like the big thing on Depop in these places now is like being unique with how you take the pictures. Like maybe have a model and put them.
Oh, because I think you like the percentage of stuff that you sell when someone's actually wearing your stuff increase.
And people just want to see. It's more unique. Like anybody can hang a shirt from a hanger and take a picture, but if you style it, like I know, like
have you seen the way I hang a shirt on a hanger?
Oh yeah, it looks pretty good. But have you seen Sky Compton on Depop? No. Hey, all I'm gonna say is if you throw a shirt or some shorts on, and you might have a better luck selling it.
I don't think if we throw it on, we're gonna have any.
Hey, I got that wagon. I got that wagon, dog. Yeah. All I'm saying. We can talk about that in another episode too, or maybe have a guest episode. But
what do we have her come talk about?
There is a trend of how are you really going to show this item off more uniquely. I think you're going to get to the top of Depop's rankings faster if you have a unique way of showing it off.
Yeah, I mean it's a business. The more followers you get, the more people see it. The more people you have that might buy it.
Yeah,
You know?
and yeah, I'm saying just take pride in your listings and don't make me have to message you for the dimensions because I just want to see it in the pictures.
Do not make Tony do that.
I'm telling you, I'm out here looking
You
all
will
night.
regret it.
So yeah, I think that's a pretty good little synopsis on thrifting, reselling, just some stuff to look forward, keep an eye on. We do want to introduce a new segment here. I know we've had Evan on here talking about thrifting and stuff, but he's actually at the end of the day, he's a pretty big sports guy.
Huge sports guy.
So we're gonna get into it here in a second. We'll be right back at you with a new segment. All right, so we're here with the big sports guy. What do you got for us, Ev?
All right, so big moment in sports last night. Kawhi Leonard called game 7. That game winner in front of Joel Embiid.
Man.
Which that was I didn't
Huge.
realize at first it was Joel Embiid, and he's like the biggest dude on the court, right?
Oh, like yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was Jimmy Butler, and then
They-
I'm like, oh.
I think they tried to double team him. There was somebody else on him. I don't know if it was Jimmy Butler, but there was 2 people.
But Embiid's like jump attempt at the block looked weak as hell. Like Kawhi was
Well,
like way up there.
I mean, yeah. They're not that much. He's not that much taller than Kawhi. I don't think. I mean, Joel, he weighs a lot more.
Yeah, but I think that
mean,
dude's like 7 foot tall.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's
Kawhi's got to be like
Like 6'8",
6'7"
max,
probably.
6'7".
Man, you think Joel?
I don't know.
I'm about to.
The wingspan of a 7 foot man.
I'm about
like-
to smartphone. this shit.
Yeah, Google that.
But
shit.
I think what's interesting about that too is I've been seeing a lot of hype around. Especially there's a picture showing off the bottom of his shoes because he's out here with the New Balance deal.
Oh yeah, I'm about to cop those. So I'm
Well-
about to be hitting all fadeaways at the gym too.
Well, speaking of that, those shoes are reselling for like $500.
Bro, that's because they straight busting.
No, they're
Nah,
not.
they're not that tight, but
Production numbers were probably hella
I-
low because they
Hey,
knew
I
no
bet
one was
they're
gonna buy
hella
them.
efficient. You know what I'm saying? I bet they hit on every aspect of a good basketball sneaker,
I
You're gonna have so many senior citizens asking you where you got your shoes.
bro. And I'm
I-
gonna be pointing them, you know what I mean, to the championship store.
No, I have a personal grudge with New Balance because back in I think it was 6th or 7th grade, my dad takes me to get basketball shoes for the season, and we go to Sports Authority, and I end up with the most trash, generic-looking New Balance basketball sneaker, and I didn't even know they made basketball sneakers at that
That's
point in
where
time.
Kawhi
Nah,
got-
they just started with
That's
this.
where Kawhi
No,
got the
no,
inspiration.
this
they-
I
was
mean,
bro.
they've been doing it, but
Yeah,
like,
but
I
this
think,
was years ago, and I show up to practice the first day, and I got flamed nonstop for those shoes. So to now fast forward 20 years and see,
Well, I guess they've just always been kind of trash. Maybe the old Laker colorways. You gotta give me a second to even think of whose shoes they were, but
either way,
Yeah.
the fact that I had a pair of these old ones and got so trash for them, and now to see them just because Kawhi's in them and they're going for like $500 is so ludicrous to me. Like
it's odd.
I don't understand, and I don't know. I guess I don't get it. Like $500 for a pair of Kawhi Leonard.
I
At New
think people
Balances.
might just be making a
I mean,
little
think it's-
investment on it, thinking like, okay, this is gonna be his like
Dude,
his
okay,
first
so
signature like
the,
his first signature shoe.
the
like,
best
it might
hand
do
in the
something.
game ones are going for over $1,000.
See, now that I understand because he's not with Jordan. It was a limited shoe in the first place, so like,
Yeah,
it's
I
like
mean, even before he left, that shoe was still
a couple $100.
like,
But I understand after he
I thought
left,
it
there's
was
going to
like
be no
5 or
more.
6.
Yeah,
was up
and
there.
so Kawhi's 6'7" and Joel is 7 feet.
So
it's like 13 inches.
breaking news: Noah just pulled up the StockX. A size 11 of the Kawhi New Balance just sold for $699,
Hey, after that shot,
and I guarantee it has something to
he
do.
had
of course,
those
with it.
on. He had those on last night. That
So
blue colorway.
I guess it's just a
People
point in
really
time.
think they're gonna be hitting game winners in those shoes because he's.
Nah, bro. I mean, I just think like that was history.
No,
Hey, that
bro.
that shot will go down the history.
A pair went
first,
for $742.
Okay,
that was just size 11.
That was the first buzzer beater in a Game 7
yeah.
in NBA playoff history.
Yep. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, but I'm still not.
Boom.
I'm still not buying a New Balance sneaker for $700, expecting it to be more at some point in time. That's just gonna crash hard.
Hey, well, if you had bought it, unlike Tony, it is a lot more now, and you
I
would
guess.
I actually have
cash out right now.
12 pairs of them in my basement.
Hey, I'm still sitting on all my
you're a genius.
ZO2s that I pre-ordered and waiting for those to spike up.
Man, could you imagine hitting a Kawhi Leonard player card
Did you really
in
get
your
one of
card
those?
pack right
No,
Oh.
no, I didn't. But R.I.P. Big Baller Brand. While we're
BBG. Man, the last ZO2 shoes or whatever, they're actually kind of tight. I can't remember.
No, we're not gonna we're not gonna touch on that. One other thing about the Kawhi, I've been hearing the rumblings on like ESPN, or I forget who it was, but saying that Kawhi is more clutch than Kobe. How do we feel about that?
No.
We're gonna need some more time, but when they broke it down, I don't know. It like the argument is pretty interesting to listen to.
If it's just numbers, it's probably Kawhi.
Because based on sample size, because Kawhi has taken so many less clutch shots than Kobe. Kobe throughout his career took so many more. So of course
he needs some more time in the league.
Yeah,
obviously.
But okay, so if you're Game 7 of the NBA Finals, both in their prime, are you taking Kawhi to take the last shot or Kobe?
Kobe.
I'm Kobe.
Who's playing defense?
I don't think it matters.
Bruce Bowen.
Steve
Kobe,
Nash.
Bro. I mean, Kawhi. I mean, at the end of Kawhi's career, I don't know if I'll feel different, but right now, Kobe all.
I think if you're comparing in their primes, like you'd be kind of crazy to take Kawhi over Kobe.
Yeah.
I think it's, and like you said, it's too early in his career still to like, he's that clutch like consistently like, but he has been on fire. He's killing it. We still got 2 more rounds left.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
he was a grown man out there.
Who do they play in the next round?
They have the
Milwaukee Bucks.
I didn't
Bucks.
even see the game.
Yeah,
Ooh.
and this is the first time that they've played since 2000, I think. Back when it was like Vince Carter on the Raptors. You had Ray Allen on the Bucks.
Was Michael Redd on that team?
Michael Redd,
Okay,
and then
yeah.
who was on? Allen Iverson was on the Sixers.
I just like seeing different teams now. Like we
Yeah.
got the Warriors,
Yeah.
but the other 3 are like a little more.
A no
unique.
LeBron playoff is
Yeah,
fun to watch.
It just
I feel
it adds more intrigue to it because it's not it's not all about LeBron. It's about all these other players shining.
Hey,
and,
I'm,
like, it's,
I'm glad the Houston Rockets are. I was tired of watching
Man.
all that tit tat dribbling and foul
Yeah,
calling every freaking.
we can touch on that some other time. It's definitely those guys are
What are predictions for the conference finals?
What teams are left?
But we got Bucks, Raptors, and Portland, Golden State.
I mean, it's probably going to be Golden State and the Bucks, and the
Golden
Bucks are gonna
State,
get waxed.
I got Golden State Raptors.
yeah.
I would like to see the Bucks win, just because, I would like to see the Bucks win.
Yeah, it would be cool.
Under the somewhat of
Milwaukee
underdog,
sports
they're
is
still
just like
solid.
popping off right now.
We're
Brewers
pretty
are really
close
good.
to that. We're pretty close to Milwaukee in the sense that
I think the Warriors still wash whoever they face the next 2 rounds.
Yeah, 100%.
You hate to see it, but that's probably what's going
and
to
they're
happen.
talking about maybe DeMarcus Cousins being able to return. You know what I mean?
And
Well, I heard KD's out for game 1, I think.
Yeah, I think
this
they'll
next
be
round.
straight. But I don't know if C.J. McCollum last night, dropped 37, and he hit that. Man, he was dropping buckets. He was. I don't know. Him and Damian Lillard are gonna be really exciting to watch against Curry and Thompson because C.J. McCollum's out there dropping buckets.
Yeah, so we'll definitely be tuning in. So I just wanted to shout out Ev here for the big sports guy. We're gonna bring him on every week just to spice it up a little bit, get some sports talk on the pod. So appreciate you. All right, so one last topic I wanted to touch on. We just we finally got like a U.S. Kind of seemed like a nationwide release of the Virgil IKEA, specifically the rugs was what everyone was hyped about.
Those
and
were dope.
Personally, I want to keep off one from my house. Like I don't know where I would put it. It seemed a lot bigger than I thought, but I think that shit is. I think that shit's dope.
5x8 or 5x10, 6x10. They're pretty big.
I don't know the normal like
Rug dimensions.
what a normal like.
I think something interesting about it is they're not really going for that much. Like those keep off ones on StockX are only like $100 over the retail.
Yeah, I mean still $650 something like that for a rug.
But
for your
like, would
house.
you rather drive to the Schaumburg IKEA and pick it up, or just buy it off StockX?
Probably just buy it off StockX.
Yeah, for that extra $100.
I saw something interesting. Kais Omar hung it up on his wall.
Oh God.
How do we feel about that?
I mean, that's what you do when you're in a dorm, and afterwards you like. I mean, you get some wall art and you put your rugs on the floor.
Oh man, girls love that. You get to hear your house got
someone,
off-white.
someone commented that it has something to do with like Arabic culture, of like hanging rugs on the wall or something like that, to where it's not on the floor.
But I think
I thought that was, I didn't know if that.
But
was
I think
like
the picture
true.
I saw, there's a rug on the floor, and he has his rug on the wall.
Well, yeah, I think you call them like tapestries or something like that if they hang them from the wall.
It is a tapestry print on the rug.
I guess you can
I don't know.
You can do whatever you want with it, man.
Yeah, I just thought, like, of course, if anybody, V.I.C.E is the one to like do some real extra shit with it, like. But I personally, I like that one. I like the. Or what are the other ones? There's like a wet
I only
grass.
like the loading one. That's the only one I think is kind of cool.
Wet
I think the loading one
grass,
is awesome, dude.
Yeah.
I think.
a red one that says blue.
Yeah, but I think the keep off one is the only one you can really
that's
have
crazy.
on your floor and like look nice. Like they're still loading. Like you gotta have you gotta have a pretty crazy house to have this like.
I
still
think you have to have a
loading big
pretty
rug.
crazy house to have a rug that has quotation marks over the
Yeah.
middle of it.
I
People,
mean-
anyone who isn't into that is gonna walk in like, "What is wrong with your rug? Is this a
They're gonna
sample?"
ask me like, can I step on
Yeah,
this?
and then you flex the fuck up on them and let them know what's really good.
And they're like, "Wow, you really spent $600 on a rug."
It's just furniture for the new generation. I mean, one day
Yeah,
you're gonna
that's
be a
what's-
grandparent and you're gonna have an off-white rug. Somebody will be like, "Yeah, my granddad has the off-white
That's what's
rug
next.
at his house."
That's gonna be what's next. Home decor and like limited like furniture
Couches.
stuff. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Virgil and
But
Virgil starts
well,
doing that.
Designers are
furniture
already
shit.
doing that though. Like Rick Owens makes furniture.
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
we already see it. Like
And
it's gonna
furniture
happen.
like
It's gonna-
lasts so much longer. You know what I mean?
True.
So a T-shirt. I guess T-shirts last long,
Well,
but furniture you're only buying it once every 10 years.
Yeah, but it's like the next evolution is like you have the shoes, the clothes. Once you kind of saturate that for yourself, you have to expand outward to like, okay,
I got the couch.
Yeah.
well,
I got the
I'm gonna get
coffee
into art. I'm gonna get into like
Yeah.
cool furniture. Like it's
No.
it's kind of like the next mature progression of streetwear, and like that's kind of where it's heading. I
And
think.
just life, you know what I mean? You graduate college, you get a house, and then now
You
you're
want to
gonna
put
need
nice things in
furniture,
it,
you
yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly. So
Conformist.
shout out Virgil, shout out the rugs, shout out the Swedish meatballs at IKEA. Those shits are fire. I don't know if anybody's. You know what I'm talking about?
Never had them.
Oh yeah!
Oh,
Shout out the
I've
IKEA
heard-
cafe.
Oh, they have
Ice
a
cream cones, hot
heard
dogs.
things.
You get whatever you need, man. It's all really cheap.
It's like meatballs with this like lingonberry sauce or
Yeah,
jam or
it's
some
good.
shit.
I've had it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Low key fire. Not gonna lie. Yeah, so that kind of wraps up episode 2 here on Vices. One thing we did want to do for next week's episode, we're gonna put on Instagram a little poll for you guys to send us questions, and we want to answer a couple of viewer questions at the end of next episode. So keep an eye out on, and that's at Vice Iowa City on Instagram. I'm Tony at Tony Vice IC.
Demetrius at Buddy Bruce Leroy.
I'm Peter at Iowa_thrift.
And I am Noah at Noah RJW on Instagram. And here over here we have my man Evan. Where you can find you?
My name's Evan. My @ is thrift.es.
All right, well, this has been Vices episode 2. We'll see you guys next week.
That's a wrap.
Peace.
See ya.